Welcome to Covert to Overt QnA. Given the popular demand of our new podcast and me being the not-so-covert private investigator, people have started coming to me with some questions. I often refer to myself as the Dear Abby of Dicks. There are certain people within my circles that don't know who Dear Abby is, but just Google her. I'd like to maybe answer some of your questions, and if you have any questions, feel free to send messages on Instagram, on TikTok, and I'll be happy to answer any of your private investigative questions. I'm not an attorney, so I really can't answer any legal questions, although I can try to give you some advice the best I can, kind of off the record on the podcast. Let me just, I guess, kind of start by giving you a little bit of a background about myself. I've been a licensed private investigator for, since 1992, I believe I first got my ticket. It is something I'm super proud of. I am licensed through the Massachusetts Department of State Police Licensing Division. So it's something that's a serious professional license, and it's something that they just don't hand out like candy. It's something that you either have to work as an apprentice investigator for, or you can come off of a police department with investigative hours in order to qualify you to become an investigator. Many investigators, obviously, the stigma is that we are extremely covert, but over the years, coming in touch with my own personality, I realized that I'm a little bit more overt. A lot of that has to do with the fact that my life is a little bit more unusual than most people. Having raised disabled children, having been an advocate for muscular dystrophy. So I kind of felt the need to put myself out there a little bit. And not every job as an investigator has to be undercover. Doing undercover work is something that I don't do anymore because I put my face out there. But being covert when it comes to my clients and the confidentiality that is something that I take very serious. So let's kind of start off by answering some of these questions for you. First question, this is kind of an interesting question. How often do you end up finding missing people? I've done a lot of missing persons cases over my career, but I would say that the majority of people that I try to locate, or people that come to me looking for me to locate a missing person. Now, I wouldn't say they're the people that are on the side of a milk carton box, people that have completely disappeared or potentially have been kidnapped or accosted. That's usually something that law enforcement, local or state or federal, will take on themselves. If over time something goes cold and they're unable to locate the certain individual, then often they will kind of pull in a private investigator. And a lot of that's done, I guess, just through, pure grief and, I hate to use the word desperation, but so when I, as an investigator or investigators themselves, look to locate someone, it's basically people that have just kind of maybe disappeared but didn't mean to disappear. Something where a simple skip trace, public record search can be used to track them down. Maybe someone that doesn't use social media a lot, that doesn't have a Facebook account, that may not have an Instagram or Twitter. Those are people that, might be more to themselves. So I take on a lot of those cases. Witnesses, I'm also hired to locate a lot. And a lot of witnesses, for example, might be addicts and they're living on the street. So that's something that's a little bit more investigative, something that I actually have to physically go out, maybe have a photograph, maybe talk to people in some of these homeless camps or parks and try to locate people that way. So I wouldn't say, again, that I locate people off of milk cartons, but I do locate people. Now, I will say one thing. This happens a lot. I'll have people call my office and say, I need to find this woman that I met a month ago at a bar. I know what town she's from. I know her first name and I know her approximate age. Well, that's something that I'm not going to give up that information. Can I locate that person? Absolutely. but I'm not going to give up that information. So lots of times if I'm trying to find someone or someone, I will ask them if they want to be found before I give up that information to kind of protect myself from any liability. So hopefully that answers your question. Has there ever been a case that I have refused? Well, I am a business owner, and being in business for over 3 decades now, I can be a little bit more selective as to what type of cases that I want to take or what cases I feel I'm best suited for. Early on as an investigator, I learned to, I guess, be schooled in all areas of the investigative world. As I was apprenticing myself, I was working for various different detective agencies that had expertise in certain areas. So you have maybe criminal defense, maybe you have background checks, asset checks, missing persons, things of that nature, witness statements, surveillance. So I really made an effort to try to get good at everything from a very young age as a rookie investigator. If there was a case that I didn't know how to do, I would kind of figure it out on the fly or consult with people. As far as cases that I turn down nowadays, well, unfortunately, just given the state of our country, the world, I should say, the mental health crisis, I can pretty much tell right away if someone calls my office and they want to hire me for a certain investigation, if where that's coming from. If it's coming from a place of possibly some mental health distress, and maybe those cases I will turn down. Or someone calls me, and someone called me most recently and asked if I could catch their spouse having an affair. Lots of times on these cases, I will kind of educate them, especially when it comes to Massachusetts general law, being a no-fault state. And I'll explain to them that catching someone cheating in the state that I'm licensed doesn't necessarily make much of a difference when it comes to your divorce, it comes to your division of assets. It's more so used for personal reasons, maybe to connect the dots, maybe to confirm your suspicions. But most people that reach out to me, their suspicions are already confirmed. They are just in denial. They're not reading between the lines. They're not accepting the fact that maybe someone's being unfaithful, and they still want to hire an investigator. So I'll usually turn those down or defer them to their legal counsel. I'll ask if they have legal counsel. I say maybe their money will be best spent, through an attorney and not spinning their wheels with an investigator. So I hate to take someone's money if I don't think it's going to help the case. So that's where I kind of have that fine line of investigator slash, I guess, counselor. Here's an interesting one. Do you carry a gun? Well, I am licensed to carry a gun. I have a Class A license in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I did carry a gun a lot in the early years, but I think it was more ego-based. I thought it was kind of cool. I thought it was kind of hip to have a gun. But guns are kind of a pain in the neck, especially if you have to go in and out of courthouses. You have to lock them up, secure them. It's not safe to leave them in your vehicle. Not often do I carry a gun. I learned as I went through my life that if I was going to carry a weapon, there were times that I would carry it concealed when I was out with my kids, more so, without them even knowing. More so just to kind of protect my family, because there's really nobody worth shooting out there from the professional standpoint. Defending your family is the ultimate thing. So have I carried it into certain projects in certain areas that are a little difficult or a little shady? Absolutely. Do I carry a gun if it's asked by my client? Yes, I'll carry a gun if I'm hired to do an armed executive protection job. That's when I will carry concealed. But honestly, I'm not a huge fan of guns. Have them. They're locked up safely in my safe. Taught all my children how to hold them, how to handle them, gun safety. But it's not something that I really need for my ego anymore. It might have been in my early years when I wanted to be a police officer, and it just kind of made me feel cool. And by all means, if you're a gun enthusiast, carry them. But if you shoot someone, well, then that's a whole different story. How long does it take to track someone cheating? That's kind of an open-ended question, but I guess I could say, how long does it take track someone cheating or catch someone cheating would be depending on what type of intel, what type of information is giving to us in the very beginning. If someone calls me and says that my spouse is pretty much home 99% of the time, but then they'll just jump up and leave and not come home for hours, and I think they're having an affair, can you catch them cheating? Well, that's a difficult thing to do because hiring an investigator is certainly not cheap. Most private investigators that are licensed and good will charge anywhere between $150 an hour to $250 an hour. Most of us have a 4 to 5 hour minimum, whether something happens or not. So if you're just sitting there and nothing happens after 4 or 5 hours, you're still getting billed. It depends on the case. If someone calls the office and says, my spouse is going to be at this restaurant or this bar on this given day at this given time, well, that makes life a lot easier to catch someone cheating. People are smart when it comes to cheating nowadays, especially being seen out in public. People are stupid when it comes to giving information out unintentionally, leaving their phone on the table when a text message comes through, where maybe their spouse can intercept and read. As an investigator, it's often easier. If someone calls my office and says, I just have a hunch, I just suspect that someone is cheating, well, that makes it a little bit more difficult because it's 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week. And then we try to do an intake, try to figure out when are they working, when are they active, when do they go to the gym, things of that nature. Those could be signs and times that maybe they are cheating. One quick story I can tell you is many years ago, I had a woman hire me to catch her husband cheating. He was in town on business, and he wanted a female investigator to come out and maybe strike up some conversation in a bar, a decoy type situation. Which often people will use decoys when it comes to investigations to try to bait them. Some may say that's entrapment. Some may say it's not. But on this particular case, I had a female investigator with me strike up a conversation with this person. This person wasn't taking the bait. This person was only saying wonderful things about their spouse. Didn't give off any vibes or any signs of having an extramarital affair. This woman was beautiful, fit, I guess, the type of mold that this person would be interested in if he was a cheater. Reported this information back to my client. Client wasn't happy. Client insisted that this husband was cheating. When I said, I don't believe this person is cheating. Well, one thing led to another, had a heart-to-heart with this client and was able to get some information out of them and get them to actually admit to me that they had once been busted by this person having an affair themselves, and that it was a subject that was often brought up in their counseling and in their marriage, and she was just trying to even the score and basically catch her husband cheating, so it was kind of a wash. Kind of crazy, what type of things people engage in relationships, but nonetheless, that was the case. Last question. How can I tell if a car has a tracking device, or I guess you could say a GPS, a satellite GPS? I can talk a little bit about GPSs because I have used them, and it's something that I don't typically like to use because of the legalities behind it, but we live in a time where GPSs are, I guess, a little bit more user-friendly. Back in the old days, you would have to hardwire a GPS under the hood of the car, and that was tough. Now GPSs are the size of a tic-tac box that have magnetic abilities that can stick underneath the vehicle in an area that is, I guess, difficult to find. If you wanted to go looking for a GPS, my best advice would be to, again, and this is if this person doesn't have access to the inside of the car, I would suggest that you just go under the car with a mag light and you look around for something that looks abnormal. Often, like I said, they're black. They look like a tic-tac box. They can also be in a separate magnetic box, and it just looks out of the ordinary. That GPS will bounce off the ground. It'll send a signal to a satellite, and then you get real-time updates on an app on your phone. Amazing stuff. Police need warrants to put GPSs on cars. in Massachusetts, there's still a gray area when it comes to the law, when it comes to GPSs, although as a practice, I won't use them unless the couple has a shared ownership in the vehicle, because now you're dealing with trespassing charges. There have been investigators in the past that have tried to put GPSs on cars in the middle of the day, and there'll be a report to the local police that they think there's someone putting a bomb on a car. So it can go south really quick, but I would look under the car, in the rear of the car. When I've done GPSs in the past, I would always avoid the front end of the car because you don't know when a car is going to go in for an oil change. And if it's up on a lift or if there's someone underneath your car and they find something that looks unusual, then they're going to report it to the customer. Pretty much your cover is going to be blown. So I'd put it near the rear end of the car. You can also put them inside the car, under a seat, Velcroed, in a back pocket, and that's only if you actually have access to that vehicle yourself. So GPSs are pretty easy to find, although they've gotten smaller. If you look hard enough, you can find them. People will call me all the time and say, I think I'm being followed. Often that sometimes can be the case. Often it can just be your mind playing tricks on you. So GPSs are available on Amazon. You can buy them anywhere in the country. I would be careful if you're going to use them. So I think that's it for today. Pretty cool. Covert to Overt, QnA. I'm Mark Chauppetta, your Dear Abby of Dicks, as I like to call myself. And if you have any questions, make sure you follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and send me a message, and I'm happy to answer your questions. Thank you.